Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode. Now, today's podcast episode, I want to talk about something really important, and that's getting started. You know, you've made plans, you've probably talked about creating a passion business, building an online business, building a community, and making money online, and now the most important thing needs to happen, and that's for you to take action. You know, there's no point in you talking about all these different things, reading the books, watching the YouTube videos and doing everything but taking action. Nothing happens until you take action. The rubber needs to hit the road. And if I was to sum this podcast up in one simple sentence, is that if you want to take action, you simply take action. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing, complicated at all. Common sense. If you want to take action, you just simply take action. Now, I know for a fact that as you're hearing that, I know in your head you're coming up with all these different reasons, but he doesn't understand this, and he's not taking into account my situation and this and that and the other. But really, all those things that you're telling yourself right now are excuses. And the reason I know that is because I used to do the same myself. Before I wrote my first fiction book, before I launched this podcast here, before I started making videos, before I created my first digital product, I could give you any amount of reasons of why I couldn't get started. I didn't know enough. I didn't have the right equipment. I needed more money. I needed more information. I needed more knowledge. I needed more courage. And really all those were just simply excuses for not taking action. If I had have taken action a way back before I listened to those excuses, I would be so far along than I am right now. But unfortunately, I listened to myself and I said, Barry, you're right. You don't have enough knowledge. You need to watch another couple of videos. You need to buy another couple of ebooks. You need to do this, do that. And it came to the point at one time when I used to buy a lot of ebooks. And what happened was I wanted to know, well, how do you create digital products? How do you create ebooks? How do you sell stuff online? And I used to buy ebook after ebook after ebook that was going to show me all the different steps. And what happened one day was I got an ebook and I realized that I knew more in here than what was in this ebook. And yet the person who was selling me this ebook was making money online. And here was me with more knowledge than they had, and I wasn't the one that was taking action. And they were taking action with less knowledge than me. And I had given them my money. So they were actually making money off me, even though I knew more than them. And I came to the conclusion and said, Barry, what the hell? What are you waiting for? If you're just kind of looping back on yourself again, well, then maybe it's time just you took action. And that really helped me take action, was realizing that I already knew enough. And I'm here to tell you the same too as well, that right now you might think you don't have enough knowledge. You mightn't have the right equipment. You mightn't have the right money, but you can take action from where you are. Now, I see a lot of people who don't take action because they want to know the answer to the question. If I write this book, will it be successful? If I start writing these blog posts, will this blog be successful? If I start making these videos for TikTok or whatever, will I be successful? Will I have a huge channel? Now, here's the thing I can't tell you about any of those questions. The thing I can tell you about those questions is none of us knows the answer to it. I don't know the answer, and you don't know the answer. Now, I can give you my best guess. But really, you're not going to know until you take action, until you write the book, until you make the videos, until you write the blog posts, and then see what happens next. See do people respond to it, see do people buy the stuff, and then work from there. But too many of us want the answer before we take action. We want to know that what we're about to do is a safe path, that we're not going to make any mistakes, that we're going to go from A to a Z without making any mistakes. We need to know all the steps. We want to know what's going to happen at B, what's going to happen at C, what's going to happen at step D. We need to know all those different things. And right now, all those things are unknown. Now, you could maybe start writing a blog. Find after a couple of weeks that you just don't like writing. And then maybe make videos. And then suddenly become successful making videos. But you don't know until you actually take action on working on that blog. Before you realize that you don't like it. And then you try something else out. So if you have a lot of questions, the way you are going to get those answers to those questions is by simply taking action. Take action and see what happens next. Now, here's another thing about taking action. And I think it's something that a lot of us forget. And that is you can be scared and take action. When I wrote my first fiction book, I was terrified. I've said it here many times in this podcast. I was terrified of hitting publish on that book, releasing that book out into the wild, and not having any control over it anymore. Of all those people who were going to read my book and maybe criticize it, make fun of me, and all those different things. And I was scared of taking action. And at the time I said to myself, Barry, should you really be this scared? If you have confidence in your book and you're confident in yourself, well, then you should have no problem hitting that publish button. That book should go off there and you shouldn't give it a second thought. But stupidly, I believed at the time, because I was doubting myself, because I was questioning myself, because I had a lot of negative chatter in my head that was telling me that I was no good, that I couldn't be a writer, that this wasn't going to go anywhere. I listened to that and I had doubts. And I thought because I was scared, it meant I couldn't take action. And what I've learned over the years is that you can be scared and take action. When we look at firefighters, when we look at policemen, when we look at all these people who race into emergency situations, you can be guaranteed that for a lot of them people, their heart is pounding in their chest. But they're taking action even though they're scared. And I remember watching the animated show Batman years ago, and that was a line that Batman said to one of the cast, one of the kids I think he was trying to comfort at the time, was that even though you're scared, you can take action. And I'd say that to you as well too, that even though right now you might be afraid of taking action, of starting, you can take action being scared. You can take action not believing in yourself. You can get started not having all the knowledge, not having all the money, just starting from where you are. Forget about getting to, step Z. How about just thinking about how can I get from step A to step B? And when we get to step B, then we worry about step C and step D. And you will find that just like driving the road in the dark, your headlights are only probably seen maybe 100 feet in front of your car. But you can drive from one part of the country over to the other part in complete darkness, only seeing 100 feet at a time. And that's all you need to see to take action, is just move on a little bit further and a little bit further. So what I'd say to you is that when you're taking action, start small. If you don't believe in yourself, if you are maybe just, doubting yourself, just take small action. Whatever you would like to do, try and break it down to the smallest thing that you can do right now. Now, if you feel that maybe you want to write a fiction book, for example, well, then instead of writing a fiction book and, going into the big process of this big project that you have to do, how about just writing a short story? If you're thinking, well, I'd like to make a video course, I'd like to create a digital course filled with videos. How about just putting that aside for one moment? And how about just recording one video and just testing an idea out? Put that video on YouTube or TikTok and see, do people like it? Before you write maybe a big long ebook, just simply write an article, a blog article, or put an article on Medium or whatever, and then test that idea. And by taking action, if you are someone who needs to have answers to the questions before they take action, at least that'll answer that part or quieten down that part of your head that needs an answer. Because when you put this small little project out there, you're going to have an idea of how it's accepted. Do people like that blog post you wrote? Maybe that could be an ebook. Did people like that video you created? Maybe it might be time to do 2 or 3 and actually work on that video course. Did people like that short story? Well, then maybe it's time to see if you can expand on it and turn it into a fiction book. Now, what I want to tell you as well too is that when it comes to starting and when it comes to achieving anything, you can achieve anything with a simple daily action plan. Again, I think a lot of us have a problem with starting because we are already thinking about the huge thing we have to do. And I know that because I have been there many times. Again, going back to the first fiction book I wrote. Never written a fiction book before. And I'm looking at this idea of writing a fiction book that's going to have thousands of words in it. And I'm saying to myself, I've never done this before. This is, to me at the time, was a huge project. And I doubted myself because there was so much I needed to do. And that was until I realised that, something, Barry, you need to break it down into small pieces. Like eating an elephant. You can't eat an elephant in one go. You have to cut it up in tiny pieces. Now that's if you want to eat elephants. But you need to break it down into small pieces. And what I realised was that my Kindle book was simply a series of chapters. And those series of chapters had a certain amount of words in each chapter. And what I decided to do was I just gave myself a simple daily action plan. I didn't think about completing the book. I simply just said to myself, Barry, what we're going to do every day is we're going to write 2,000 words. We're not going to write more, we're not going to write less, but we're going to see if we can write 2,000 words every day. Now at the time, that was a lot for me, but I had plenty of time during the day to do it. And I found that over time, as my typing got faster, as I got better at writing, I found I could get that target done every day. And maybe you mightn't be able to write 2,000 words a day. Maybe you haven't got the time, but could you do maybe 500 words a day? Or instead of maybe thinking of this huge popular YouTube channel that you'd like to have, or all these digital products you'd like to create, or whatever it is you're looking to do, instead of seeing the big thing, how about just breaking it down into a daily action plan? You know, what about if you, maybe the business that you have right now, the goal that you want to get to, just simply break that down into 365 days. And you're going to find that that huge project that probably seems huge right now, which is probably stopping you from starting because it's so daunting, is going to seem a lot more achievable because you're simply just doing a little bit every day. And what I found was all my 2,000 words added up day after day after day until it eventually became the book. And over time, as I got more confidence in myself and, knew the process of writing fiction, it became a lot easier. But I think for me, if I hadn't have broken the writing process down into a daily word count that I would need to do every day, I probably wouldn't get there. Because it was, in my head, at the beginning, it was too big for me to actually write a fiction book. So maybe if you feel that, that you can't get started because it's so daunting, just break it down into a simple action plan. And if you find that maybe the reason that you can't get started is because you're looking at everyone else. You're looking at all those other people who have businesses that you would like to have, or that have huge followings on social media that you would like to have, or that have a popular podcast or have a huge YouTube channel, and you're looking at those people. It's very easy to compare yourself with those people and not take action because you realize and say to yourself, well, I'm never going to get there. But what you need to realize is that person that you idolize, that person that you look up to, was at one point where you are right now. They probably hadn't got a fiction book written. They probably hadn't even created a video. They probably didn't know how to do whatever they are doing right now. That, like a child, they didn't come into this world with all this knowledge, with all this experience, with all those books, with all those videos, with all those followers, with all the stuff they have right now. They started off where you are right now. They started off at zero. They had one book or one follower or one video or, simply started off at number one and then they worked on that. But again, sometimes when we look at those other people, our supposed competition that we think we'll never be like those people, you have to remember that they started where you are right now. But the reason that they are where they are is because they got started. They took action. That huge social media following wasn't given to them. They didn't suddenly wake up in the morning and find a YouTube channel, populated with loads of videos. They had to actually put that content there day after day after day after day. And in most of those cases, they probably had a daily action plan that they worked over and over and over and over and over again until they actually broke through, until they were noticed, until other people said, wow, they're amazing, and followed them or bought their products or whatever. But they were where you are right now. And what I'd say to you as well too is that if you do take action, I want you just to congratulate yourself on taking action. Because most people won't take action. Most people won't start. Most people are all talk. Most people will talk about writing fiction books. They'll talk about making money online. They'll talk about, doing TikTok videos like those people and going over here on YouTube and writing articles for Medium or doing this and doing that. And that's as far as it gets. They never take action. It's all this talking and none of actually using their hands. And if you do find that you do get the courage up to take action, just congratulate yourself on taking action because most people won't do that. Now, I'll be honest, I'm probably one of the worst people to congratulate myself. I take action and, like a shark, I'm looking for the next project, the next thing I need to be doing. But when I look back from where I am right now, I am really pleased with what I've done over the years. I'm really, pleased with myself for writing the fiction books, for having a podcast like this, for doing YouTube videos, for having my blog, for creating digital products. I've done a lot of action in the past I am so proud of myself for, and I should be probably congratulate myself more often. And I'd say that to you as well too, that don't get caught up on taking action, and that pausing for a moment and actually congratulating yourself on taking action, of making that first video, of writing that first ebook or creating that digital product or even that first blog post. Congratulate yourself on taking action, because as I said, most people are all talk and will never do the things that you would like to do. So as I said at the start of this podcast episode, I could sum this podcast episode down into one sentence, and that is, if you want to start, you just simply start. Everything else that you're telling yourself right now is just nonsense. It's just excuses. It's just lies that your brain is telling you to hold you back, to keep you safe, to not get outside your comfort zone. Because your brain is trying to keep you in a comfortable spot. It doesn't want you to get stressed out. It doesn't want you working your butt off. It doesn't want you getting into uncomfortable situations. It wants to keep you safe. And while that is all nice and well, that's not going to get you to where you want to go to. So if you want to start, that's simply it. You need to start, even though you're scared, even though you haven't got all the knowledge, even though you don't know what the next step is. When you take the next step, then you'll be shown the next step. So as always, thank you for sharing your time today here in this podcast episode. If you have any thoughts, any comments, feel free to leave them below this video. And as always, have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.